Hook. What if a single song could carry the weight of pain, hope, and love so deep that it made an entire audience cry? Tonight, you will hear the story of a boy who sang not just with his voice, but with his soul. The stage lights glowed brightly as the young boy stepped into view. His clothes were plain, his shoes worn out, and his eyes told a story of silent battles. His name was Daniel, a boy of just 15, standing nervously in front of hundreds of strangers. To them, he looked ordinary. But inside, Daniel carried a world of emotions waiting to be unleashed. Life had never been easy for Daniel. He grew up in a small town where his family struggled to survive. His father had left when he was young, and his mother worked day and night in a cafe to feed him and his little sister. Every evening, while his mother came home exhausted, Daniel would play an old guitar he had found at a thrift shop. It was scratched, missing strings, but to him, it was his best friend. The only thing that understood his heart. Music became his escape. Whenever the world felt too heavy, Daniel poured his soul into melodies. His favorite song was Hotel California, a track his mother used to hum when life was hard. To Daniel, it wasn't just a song. It was a memory of worth, of hope, of family. He dreamed of singing it on a big stage one day, but that dream always felt too far away for a boy with empty pockets and broken shoes. When auditions for a local talent show were announced, Daniel almost didn't go. He thought, who would care about me? But his little sister, Emily, believed in him more than he believed in himself. She pressed the guitar into his hands and whispered, "Sing for Mom. Sing for us." And so, here he was, standing under the lights, holding his guitar, facing a crowd that expected entertainment, but had no idea what was coming. The judges exchanged skeptical glances when they saw him. His clothes were wrinkled, his guitar old, his voice trembling as he introduced himself. But Daniel took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began to play. The first notes echoed through the hall, soft and haunting. Then his voice broke through, raw, fragile, but filled with a pain that silenced every whisper in the room. Each lyric carried his story: the nights of hunger, the loneliness, the hope that refused to die. His voice cracked, but it wasn't weakness. It was truth. By the time the first chorus ended, people were leaning forward in their seats, tears streaming down their faces. Daniel wasn't just singing Hotel California. He was bleeding his heart out through every word. His pain became theirs. His hope became theirs. For the first time, the boy who thought he was invisible made the whole world stop and listen. Hook. Sometimes, it's not the perfect voice that changes lives, it's the broken one, carrying truth. And Daniel's truth was about to touch every soul in that room. As Daniel sang the second verse, the hall transformed. The spotlight was no longer just on him. It felt like it was shining on every broken dream in the audience, every hidden struggle. Grown men wiped their eyes. Mothers clutched their children, and the judges sat frozen, stunned by the purity of what they were witnessing. Daniel sang as if his mother's tired hands were holding him, as if his sister's innocent faith was lifting him higher. Every note trembled, but it was that trembling that made it human. His voice cracked again during the high notes, and instead of embarrassment, it drew more tears. It wasn't just a performance, it was a confession. By the time he strummed the last chord, the room was silent. For a long, breathless moment, no one moved. Then, suddenly, the entire hall erupted. Applause, cheers, people standing on their feet. Some were crying openly, others smiling through their tears. The judges themselves were wiping their eyes, unable to find words. Daniel looked down, shocked. He had expected rejection, maybe even laughter. But instead, the audience was roaring for him, begging for more. In that moment, he realized something powerful. He didn't need to be rich, or perfect, or famous. His truth was enough. One of the judges stood up and pressed the golden buzzer. Confetti rained down, lights flashed, and Daniel fell to his knees, covering his face as tears of disbelief spilled. For the first time, the boy who felt small, forgotten, and invisible was seen, truly seen. His mother, watching from the crowd, sobbed uncontrollably, clutching Emily's hand. They had struggled together, starved together, cried together. And now, they were celebrating together. The entire audience stood united, not just for a boy who sang a song, but for a boy who turned his pain into light. That night, Daniel walked off the stage not just as a contestant, but as an inspiration. He had proven that true power lies not in money or fame, but in the courage to bare one's soul. The boy who once doubted himself had become a voice for everyone who ever felt unheard. And the world. It would never forget the day Daniel sang Hotel California, and made an entire audience cry. Key final message for viewers: sometimes, the most broken voices are the ones that heal the most hearts. Never be ashamed of your scars. They might be the song someone else needs to hear.